Hey yo, what's good reader fam? Welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing well, hope you're drinking lots of water, hope your books are staying dust free. Today I decided that for whatever reason I would go on Goodreads to look at books that I gave a high rating that have the lowest rating on Goodreads. The overall average rating of these books on Goodreads are gonna be hecka low. What's the point of this video, you might be asking? Well, let me tell you, content. No, but really I don't have any real reasons for this. Maybe I just wanted to get into some fights today. Maybe I just want to get mad today. Or maybe I'm just a lover of differing opinions and I find it so fascinating how we can all read books and have such different experiences with them. I think that's honestly what mostly rings true with this. You know you live a boring life when this is your idea of fun. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go on, not to completely pull you out of this video, but this is really distracting me. Oh, you wanna know what I'm referring to? This patch of hair on my neck that I missed while shaving. Can't unsee it now, can ya? Me either. Well, do me a favor and act like it's not there. Goodreads, I'm gonna go to my books and I'm gonna sort them by their lowest rating. Then I'm gonna go through those books and I'm gonna find the ones that I gave a high rating that have the lowest rating, and I'm going to investigate people's thoughts on them and I'm gonna see if I agree or disagree. It's gonna be a grand old time. I feel like this could turn into a try not to be hateful to people that have differing opinions than you challenge. Not really though, I'm a pretty reasonable person when it comes to stuff like this. Like, I really love when people have a different opinion than me because again, it's just so fascinating to me how we can all have such differing opinions. I love it. It's the best. We love differing opinions in this household. Someone needs a hobby and that person is me. All right, without further ado, let's get started. Or rather, let's get opinionated. Don't worry. I hate me too. I've got Goodreads open here on the side. I'm gonna go to my books and sort them by the lowest rated and see which ones I've given the highest rating. Literally, the lowest one on this list is one that I gave 4 stars, and it's got an average rating of 2.86, and that's super low. How low can you go? Low both in terms of rating and low in the fact that people are rating it so low. How low of y'all? And that book is Run It and Jamil. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling told in verse. It's about a forbidden love between a Palestinian boy and an Israeli girl. What I liked about it. To be fair, I'm honestly surprised that I even like this one because this book has a lot of elements in it that I don't even personally like. I think a big reason why people probably weren't that interested in this book is because of the fact that it has some major insta-love in it. It's got that insta-love up in here, but I think that I was a little bit too distracted by the beautiful writing to even really care about that, which I think is another thing that people probably won't like about this book is the writing alone. It's told through verse, and I think I remember even while reading this book that a few things didn't really even make sense to me while I was reading it. I just kind of went along with it because it's poems. Sometimes poems just don't make sense to me. Sometimes poems go over my head. Sometimes poems make me cringe, but I still just keep on reading them. All those things happen a lot when I read poetry, so I just kind of go with it. I ride the ride. Also, going into this book, I knew that it was going to be less plot focused and kind of less focused on the characters. I feel like it's more so about the author having something to say and doing so by stringing pretty words together. In fact, I feel like that's why so often I don't enjoy books told in verse because those are all elements that I need in a story. Like, I need those great characters with amazing character depth and growth. Preach! And I need amazing plots that leave me shook. Yes, we do! Which again is a big reason why I'm surprised I like this book because it's not really character heavy. I mean, I guess it is. It's really focused on the relationship and it's also really not plot focused either. Like, mostly I liked this because of the beautiful words. I liked the beautiful writing. I liked how flowery it was. What people don't like about it. Okay, I went through the reviews on Goodreads and I picked out 2 points that I feel like I saw kept coming up, so I'm gonna go over those. The first one is that people said that the writing style was a bit of a cringe fest. And yeah, it was, but if you know what kind of party you're attending, you show up prepared. You don't watch a Disney Channel movie expecting cinematic greatness. You watch it knowing that you're gonna get secondhand embarrassment and a platter full of dialogue that will make you sweat with confusion. Sweat with confusion? I knew that it was gonna be over-the-top writing. It's told in verse. I can kind of expect that going in. It's gonna be super flowery. There's probably gonna be stuff that doesn't make sense. So I get this argument and I don't disagree with it either because yeah, the writing wasn't the greatest. But like I said, if you know what kind of party you're getting into, you know what to expect. And the second thing that I saw that kept coming up was that the relationship has a lack of foundation and realness. A lot of people were saying that their relationship kind of was built on the birds and the bees, if you know what I'm saying. Oh yes, we know. I don't really agree with the argument that people felt like it should have gone farther than the relationship. I feel like you know going into this book that it's going to be heavy heavy on the romance. The book title and cover alone is pretty telling that it's going to be about a relationship. I do feel like it would have been nice to see a little bit more pushback with their relationship because this is a forbidden love story. And maybe this book was selling the idea that it was going to be more political when it came out, but I didn't read it around the time that it came out. I just kind of randomly picked up this book, which might be why I enjoyed it so much. It's really a story that's heavily focused on these two characters coming together. So if you go in knowing that, it's going to be an easy pill to swallow. The next one on here is really shocking to me with how low of a rating it is because I really enjoyed this story. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and that is Graveyard Shakes by Laura Terry. This book has a 3.25 average star rating on Goodreads. That's pretty low. This is a middle grade graphic novel following these two sisters who end up going to this private boarding school. One of the sisters, Victoria, is doing everything that she can to fit in, even if that means changing herself, while Katia, the other sister, on the other hand, is owning her differences and being her true self. After a fight between the two, Katia runs away and Victoria runs after her, and she somehow ends up falling into the underworld. It's an adventure about these two sisters coming to an understanding for each other, owning who they are, and getting the heck out of the underworld. What I liked about it. This graphic novel was dope. Not just good, not just great, it was dope. I'm over here giving Frosted Flakes a run for their money. I loved the overall core message of this book. This book is heavily focused on the idea of like not fitting in and how sometimes it can really take a long time before you find people in your life that you really connect with and want to be friends with. And another really big message in this book that I really strongly love is the idea of acceptance, accepting people for who they are and not trying to change them. Also though, the art style. I just completely devoured it and loved every bit of it. It fed my art-loving soul. What people don't like about it. Okay, I read some reviews and I picked out 3 points. The first point is teachers not seeing bullying. So they're saying that they kind of felt that that was unrealistic, that the teachers didn't pick up on the fact that these characters were being bullied in here. And I could see that being a frustrating thing, but I think that that's still a thing that's happening in this day and age. Kids are unfortunately still being bullied and it's still going unnoticed. Come on, my dudes, it's 2019, let's throw bullying out the window. So I would say that it's a relevant topic and kids who pick up this book might need to read a book like this. Might need to see that they're not alone through books like this. The next point is one that I kind of strongly disagree with, but this person felt like the characters changed themselves to fit in, which that is a thing that one of the characters does. They do try to like change themselves, but the story is about how you shouldn't do that, how you should be yourself and own who you are. It's about the characters coming into their own and finding an understanding for themselves and realizing that it's better to be yourself than to try to change yourself. That's what I got out of it. But again, we all interpret things differently in different ways, so it's all good. We Gucci. The last point is one-dimensional characters. I see this argument a lot with graphic novels and comics, and I agree to a certain extent. I definitely think that going into graphic novels and comics more so nowadays, I kind of go in with the expectations that this is going to be more of a plot-driven story. I have seen a few graphic novels like nail it. There's this graphic novel called Sheets that does a great job of like exploring the character and like really giving them a lot of depth. Chef's kiss. But for the most part, I do feel like this is something that a lot of graphic novels just don't focus on. Like, they're not really there to delve deep into the characters, which is an okay thing. Like, that's not a bad thing. It just sucks when that's something that you're really hungry for when you go into a book, which that's something that I'm hungry for a lot when I go into books. Like, I want some good characters with some backstories, lots of depth. Just give me some great characters. But again, it's not something that I see often in graphic novels, so I definitely see this argument and I think it's valid. The next one is one that, again, I am not surprised to see on this list. It's one that I think I gave like a 3.5 out of 5 stars, maybe a 4 out of 5 stars, but I just had a feeling that this book would pop up on here. I had a feeling. Anyway, that book is Genuine Fraud by E. Lockhart. This book has a 3.34 average rating on Goodreads. How do I even explain this book? Good luck. This book is confusing, that's all you need to know. No, so we follow this character named Jewel, and her story starts at the end of her story. So we're starting this book and it starts with the finale basically, and we're working our way forward. We're working our way to the beginning of her story. The face I make when I'm not even sure I'm explaining the book accurately. It works its way from the end to the beginning. E. Lockhart was like, who decides how books are written? I decide how books are written. Jewel's character is like the epitome of mysterious, which is why I feel like I shouldn't say more, because a lot of this book is just like figuring out her character, figuring out who she is, what's going on, what the heck is going on. But you're basically just unraveling her story as you go on and trying to figure out how she ended up where she is at the beginning of the story, because the beginning of the story is the end. like confusing. But I feel like that's what causes this story to have such a unique flavor. Who's doing it like E. Lockhart? What I liked about it. The reason I mostly like this book is because of its unique quality. Sure, it had me scratching my head a bit in confusion because I had no idea what was happening. It's also not a story that I would necessarily gravitate towards because it's not really a character-driven story. At least I didn't really feel like it was. You're not reading this book to have your heart grow arms and wrap itself around the main character. That was a bad visual. At least you got your point across. I feel like this book had the plot as its main course. I also liked being in the dark for most of this book. I liked the fact that I had to work to find answers. When you're used to such a specific book format, it can be hard to kind of get into a book like this, but I got into it. It was refreshing to have a book like this come in and kind of shake things up with my reading life. This book takes you down a less conventional road when it comes to storytelling. I haven't read all of E. Lockhart's books, but I just have this idea in my head that she's not the kind of author that wants to be churning out the same kind of stories. E. Lockhart be like, I'm not like other authors. There are authors out there who kind of stick to the same thing and things that they've had success with, which is not a bad thing. Get that coin however you get it. Also, if it brings you joy, then let that joy be down in your heart. Where? Down in your heart. I always make those Christian references hoping someone out there will understand what people don't like about it. Again, I read through some reviews and I picked out 3 things that I kept kind of seeing. The first point is that people felt that they were being sold something entirely different. It be like that sometimes. This is really interesting to me because the description of this book is very mysterious too, so I kind of knew what I was getting into. Like, it really does not tell you what you're getting at all. It just like gives you these key words. It describes all these things that the character is, but doesn't really go into much detail. And it really does not tell you anything about the plot. It just like vaguely explains some things about the character. I guess it was kind of being labeled as a thriller when it first came out, so I could see people being thrown off by that factor. It is a thrilling book, but is it a thriller? I don't know about that, Chief. The next point was that I saw a lot of comparisons to We Were Liars. I feel like I saw a lot of reviews that were like, I loved We Were Liars, so I thought that I would love this, but I didn't love it. The twist in We Were Liars had more of a punch. We Were Liars had me shook. This one did not shake me up. I totally get that because it's so hard not to compare a book from an author where you loved another one of their books. Like, you're just automatically going to compare those books. I feel like that's just an inevitable thing that happens, but I personally think it's good that it's not anything like We Were Liars. I feel like had I read this book and it were anything like We Were Liars, I would have been disappointed. To me, even the writing style was a lot more different than We Were Liars. We Were Liars kind of has this like really flowery, dreamlike state writing style, if that makes any sense at all, whereas this one was just kind of more straightforward. But I totally think that this point is pretty valid. The last point that I noticed a lot is that a lot of people wanted more from the ending, which I completely understand this one. Because of the fact that the book technically starts out with the ending and we're working our way forward, I feel like the beginning of the story that we're working towards could have had a little bit more oomph to it. A little more shock value, something to make it a little bit more satisfying. It's like getting a milkshake and there not being a cherry on top. Tragic. The next book is one that I love, one that I gave a 5 out of 5 stars, and that is Why We Broke Up by Daniel Handler. This book has an average rating of 3.48 stars on Goodreads. Why don't you guys love one of my faves? That's not even that low. Clearly I'm just dramatic. In this book we follow a breakup, or rather the breakup has already happened. But we don't know how it's happened yet exactly. That's what this book is kind of detailing. Over the course of this book we get objects and we get a letter detailing different points of the relationship, and we kind of try to unravel how these two characters ended up breaking up. What I liked about it. I really loved the concept of this book, how we get an object and we see how that object comes into play and how it's an importance in the story. For me, this is a situation where the book had an excellent concept and it was executed in a great way. I've read quite a few books over the past few years where they've had these great concepts and going into them I'm really excited, but then I get disappointed because they're kind of underwhelming. This one, I feel like it kind of just nailed it. I also remember something from this book that I really loved was how real it felt. Like, I felt the weight of the relationship ending. I got so invested in their relationship that by the end of it, I felt like I too had experienced the same breakup that they had experienced. It was a wild feeling at the end of it. I felt like I was grieving the end of a relationship that I wasn't even involved in. And yet somehow I felt like I was involved in it. It made me feel like I was having my heart ripped out of my chest, thrown on the ground, and stepped on. Obviously that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it made me feel things. I'm also just a sucker for Handler's writing style. Like, it's full of cleverness. And I also really liked the main character. I feel like this is something that we're gonna see with the negative reviews, is that people aren't going to like her character because she's kind of unlikable. No, let's not get it twisted. She's really unlikable. But I liked that their relationship wasn't the most typical. Like, they both kind of come from different worlds and they come together to make things work, and then obviously they break up. But I like the fact that they kind of came from two different worlds and made love happen for a little bit. What people don't like about it. Okay, I read some reviews and I picked out some points that I kept seeing. I did read a 2-star review that left me really confused because the person said that they loved everything about it, and yet they gave it 2 stars, so someone's got some explaining to do. Unless 2 stars is a high rating for them, then my bad. You do you, I do I. The first point that I'm gonna bring up is one that I kept seeing and one that I knew that I would see, and that's the fact that Min, our main character, is really boring. I can understand this because Min is like the epitome of a hipster, and that can be something that really rubs people the wrong way, so I totally get that. Even I was like, sis, can you crank it down a few notches with the pretentiousness? But I got used to her and I ended up really liking her by the end of the story. The second point that I saw is that it lacked depth in terms of what it was trying to say. And for this one, I don't know how I feel. I don't necessarily agree. I don't disagree either though, because for me, all it was really talking about was like first love and breaking up. And I felt like it did a really good job of talking about both of those topics. Not only did it do a good job of kind of uncovering the breakup, but it brought in this level of intensity with the breakup where you yourself felt like you were experiencing a breakup. To me, you really felt the weight of it all, and I don't know, I feel like I kind of disagree with this point because what else was it trying to say? It was just kind of dissecting breakups and talking about first love and how much love can affect your life and how you don't really realize it till you get to the end of a relationship. So, methinks I disagree with this point. The last point that I saw is one that kind of makes me laugh, but too artsy. Blocked, that's whack, just kidding, you're free to your opinion. It's just that I wholeheartedly disagree. Like, these pictures, they were a serve. The last one is one that I kind of figured would end up on this list because I remember actually reading the reviews for this book before I read it, and a lot of them were not very positive, and that's for As You Wish by Chelsea Sidoti. Now, I did not give this book a perfect rating by any means. I think I gave it like a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and its average rating on Goodreads is 3.54. So like I said, I had read some reviews before reading this book, and not a lot of them were positive. Like, I mostly saw negative things, but I was just like, I'm gonna give it a chance, just gonna see what it's all about, and I ended up really enjoying it. This story takes place in a town where when you turn 18, you get the chance to make a wish, and that wish will come true. The catch is you have to be really careful what you wish for because there could be some big consequences. As the Pussycat Dolls preached in their hit song When I Grow Up, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. So many people in the town have wasted their wishes on stupid things or even just like jacked up their lives because of what they've wished for. So this story follows a boy who is turning 18 and he finally gets the chance to make a wish. Let's be real here. All of us would be wishing for immortality, that way we get to literally read all of the books. What I liked about it. I feel like this book did so many great things. Something that kind of sticks out to me in my mind is that throughout this story, we're not only following our one main character, we also see all these other wishes that have been made and the outcomes of those wishes. It's got a very the sun is also a star and they both die at the end vibe in that sense. And because of that, I feel like we got to see like a lot of different messages. Those little insights that we get gave this book an opportunity to kind of discuss different wishes and how altering different things in your lives can end up being a really negative thing and kind of lead you down a bad path. And I liked that insight. I liked seeing that. So I like that this book kind of explores some really interesting topics. I also liked how unlikable our main character is. I know for a fact that that's something that we're gonna see with these negative reviews that I go over because I remember that being something that really stuck out to me. Honestly, that's an appeal for me. When a book has an unlikable character, I'm more likely to be interested in reading it. It's interesting to me that I don't mind reading about a jerk, but I don't enjoy interacting with jerks in real life. I guess it's technically because I like to investigate their minds and figure out why they're jerks. Have they been eating too much beef jerky? Is that the case? What people don't like about it. Okay, again, I went through some negative Goodreads reviews and picked out a few things that I kept seeing. The first one is that people did not like the main character at all. Our main character is so unlikable, but that's why I liked him. No one? Me. But did you know that I like unlikable characters? I loved how unconventional he was. He was a brat times 10, and that's what made this story interesting. Had this story been told through the eyes of a goody two-shoes, I would not have been interested. I would have checked out by chapter 2. I needed that edginess that the main character brought in. The second point that I saw is that there was no real development with the characters. I don't really know how I feel about this one because I can't really remember the development that much, which is kind of a little bit telling. That means that there probably wasn't that much development, if any. I would say that our main character does change in the fact that he does something good for a change in this book, but I feel like we don't see enough of the aftermath to know how much it really alters the characters. Like the situation that they go through in this book, how does that really affect them? We don't get to really see that. At least I don't remember seeing it because it's been a while since I've read this book. It's not even been that long, bro. It's been a year. That's pathetic. Oops. And the third one is one that I completely agree with, and that's the fact that there are some plot holes in this book. Yes, there are. But it didn't really throw me off completely from enjoying the story, obviously. I was able to overlook those issues and suspend my disbelief. I filled up those plot holes with my own imagination. Take that, plot holes, I filled you up. Alright, well that's it for this video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. You guys should let me know down below in the comments a book that you love that you feel like a lot of people don't love. What's that book for you? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye! -oh!